Hello everybody, Tyrannosaurus here. Hope you're all doing fantastic. I'm doing great, thank you. We are back with our Mountain Blade series for a little bit of tutorials. There are some sea raiders right there, so I'm going to go ahead and run into town so that they don't kill me. We are now on to part 2, episode 2, whatever you want to call it. We have just entered the world with our character, Tyrannosaurus. We've got 13 charisma already, which is great. You know, not much health, but what are you going to do? Our leadership skill, though, is amazing. So, with that being said, we currently have no one in the party, but we do have this quest to collect 5 men. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to run over here to Quinn. See, these are looters, so I'm not too worried about them. Looters are easy to kill. If they want to fight me, they can fight me. We're going to recruit these 7 Nords. We're going to check this just in case. This is kind of a sneak peek on our trading episode that is to come, but we happen to have 7 Nords now who could use a little experience, and a party of 9 looters right here, so I'm just going to charge into them. We'll do surrender or die. When you get the opportunity to have your men get some free experience like this, even if it's not part of your plan per se, I would take it. I think I'm getting some screen tear, which kind of upsets me. But as I was saying, whenever you get the chance for kind of a free battle, it never hurts to grab it. I mean, really, the only harm that's going to happen is if it's a battle that's beyond your capabilities. So if this was a party of Sea Raiders or something, I totally would have ran away because that would have been awful. But since it's not Sea Raiders, and I apparently can't hit a single thing today, I'm definitely going to try and get a couple free kills in. For one, for my own experience, just because, as the leader of this party, and with having the training skill, I want as much experience as possible. Now see, I already have a shield, so whenever I'm running around people, I'm going to pull up this shield. We'll go over that in combat basics and stuff later as well. But, yep, oh, I got 6 damage done to me there. Not great, so I'm going to swing, and now I'm going to tell my units to charge. We'll go over all of this and how to do that in, like, formation, tutorial, and unit training and all that. But basically what I do when I start with, and the reason I always start on a horse, is because of how easy it is to just run around these slow infantry units and get some free kills. So we got some free kills there. I have the looting skill, which means that I got a couple of things to worry about. These things are so cheap, they're hardly worth picking up, honestly. If you're brand new and you're having trouble with money, grab them, because even if it's just the 1 dinar, it's better than nothing. I generally fare pretty well in the game, so I'm not too concerned with it myself. Upgrade the armor whenever you get a chance, obviously. But off of that battle, I can already upgrade these guys if I want to. Now, I'm not going to, because we are trying to be as cheap as possible, but we now have enough men to turn in that quest. So that's generally what I do. You can turn it in the tavern. He'll just be sitting right over here. And then I say, very well, I shall hunt for bandits. The reason that I do that is it creates this group right here. No matter where you start, you get a free battle against 4 people. One of them that doesn't die, so it's really just 3 kills. But ultimately, like I said, one way or another, when you get the chance for a free battle, take it. And because of that, I usually finish this storyline one way or another. So they're pretty far away. Might be able to hit them, might not. Looks like it fell a little bit short. Oh, accidentally shot additionally. Now, I touched base on this last time, but I generally pick the crossbow as one of my weapons of choice whenever I'm starting a new character, or really just in general. I can use the bow at this point because I've been playing for long enough that I generally know how it works. I'm okay with arrow drop and all that. So using the bow can be a bit more effective, particularly because you can carry more arrows, and they're a bit more effective because of how quickly you can shoot. It's just a little bit better. But the crossbow has its points as well. such as the accuracy on it. If I wanted to go ahead and just do this and try and shoot this guy in the head, I almost hit him. Headshots are obviously rather difficult to get. That's why they do so much additional damage. But, you know, it is what it is. Then we just shoot this guy in the belly. Then if I wanted to, I could charge my Nords in, or I could just shoot him again, or run in there with my sword, however you want to do it. They're technically looter class enemies, and so they're as easy as it gets. It doesn't get any easier than this. I think even farmers are probably harder than looters. But yeah, we'll spare his life. He tells us where they're held hostage. There's that. Important thing to note, clubs can be very useful because they enable you to knock out your enemies, which you can then take them prisoner, and once they're taken prisoner, you can sell them to a ransom broker, which is all well and good. So the kidnapper's hideout is right over here. Now the biggest thing right now is I'm not fast traveling. I have my thumb on the space button ready to go. Now the reason that is because if I click space, I can pause the game immediately. Right now we're in kind of dangerous territory. We're in the land of the North, and North has sea raiders. They're not people who we want to mess with. Now whenever I'm attacking an encampment like this, I always tell my men to follow me. This way I can kite the enemy into them to get killed, and they don't spread out. That's the most important part with these, is if your men spread out and go all over the place, they're going to get ganged up on, and they're probably going to get killed, which is not what you're looking for, especially when you're first starting off your army. Now this little zoom in feature, a lot of people might not know how to do that. I'm hitting shift in order to zoom in like that. Really helps you with judging distance a little bit. So like I can shoot and then hit shift. Gives me an idea of where my arrow lay so that I can adjust and shoot again, and then adjust again and shoot again. See, so that time it fell a little short. I know that I need to go up like this. Fire at will. That one was probably going to hit, just went a little far to the right. And ultimately you can continue doing that over and over again. I'm not going to waste your guys' time now. This is a tutorial video, should be short. But long story short, I usually grab about 8 to 12 guys, and then I go in to finish this quest line. So then, here we go. I'll block these guys because I have a shield. These guys are dead. Then we're going to run over here, stab this guy, slash him. Shields up whenever approaching an enemy, particularly if they show ranged weapons. Now this guy's only throwing rocks, he's not too big of a threat, but he is still technically a ranged weapon, and it's a good practice to have, particularly when you're fighting against bows. Now I see my men facing over this way when they were running, which tells me that there's a person right there. Now, usually I would pick up my crossbow and shoot him in the head at this point, but today I can't seem to hit anything, so we're just going to avoid that and run up and kill him. We're getting within range now, so I'm going to raise my shield. Shield high. Case in point, when people are advancing towards you, and you are the defending party instead of the attacking party in this case, even if they have shields, you can actually block it, or rather shoot past it. The shield box is relative to their body. So if they have small shields like this, you can shoot them in the knees and you'll still do damage. So it's something to keep in mind whenever you have an advancing party. So like for this guy, he's technically not an enemy, but I can use him as target practice anyways. If I was to aim for his head and he had a shield, I probably wouldn't hit him. But if I was to aim for his knees and took him out down there, it wouldn't do as much damage per se, but it would definitely cause some pain. And that's really what you're looking for there. So now we've got a little bit additional items to be selling, which is great. Nothing too special, which stinks, but you know, a little bit extra money, some extra experience for our soldiers. And now that we've done this, I'm gonna go ahead and head down to Sargoth. Now here, looks like I'm being followed by some sea raiders. Not great. I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade to Nord Footman straight off the bat, just in case. I leveled up as well, seeing as how we're about to go into a big battle, I'm going to get strength up to 9, give myself a little additional health. Same thing with this, Iron Flesh. Because this game is such a long-term kind of thing, it is actually okay to roll with in-the-moment adaptations. Because eventually, later on down the line, you will be placed in those moments again. And so if you've already adapted your character for it, then they won't be a problem at that point. And we have a belligerent drunk, which is not good. So we are going to pull out our sword and shield. Going to let him attack us first. These guys randomly appear in taverns. You're just going to have to deal with them, sadly. If you know how to do your fighting, it shouldn't be a problem. You get a little experience, little dinars. The tavern keeper likes you more, which is good. And you generally get a free sword, so it's not entirely useless. It's just not, it's not really what we're looking for, which, you know, is what it is. So a lot of taverns also have an upstairs. If you can't find the person you're looking for, it doesn't hurt to check them here. So for this, generally at this point, I say, I'm sorry, too much, I'll come back. It is a free battle for your people, which is great. But at some point, you really need to start thinking about the long-term goal that you have and how you're going to better achieve it. So at this point, I've now gotten a decent number of people. I've spent some time and money to upgrade them. My weekly cost is raising. And it's time for me to probably not be in Sea Raider territory anymore. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is head out of near the coast. Here, I'm more than likely to encounter forest bandits, maybe some looters if I'm lucky. No, the reason I say looters if I'm lucky is because they're easy to kill, of course. Whenever I get the chance against a fight of looters, taking it. Especially if my army isn't seasoned yet. If my army's seasoned, I might pass them by. But now what we're going to do is go over here to the Vaeger's land, recruit some of them, see if they have anything for incredibly cheap. Nothing comes to mind. Probably going to take a quick run into Ravedan. There's a tournament here, which is always something you can do for renown and money. With how easy I am to kill right now, though, it's probably not worth it for me. I bet I would lose. But I'm going to sell off all of my items here. That Nord sword is a 28 and 20, so I'm going to replace my rusty sword with the Nord sword. Do that. So now we've got, you know, an extra 83 dinar. That's 2 weeks worth of pay for my men, if you do the math like that. And I got another 82 here, so I now have a month worth of pay for my men. This won't continue to be the case as my party grows, of course, and I get more people. Now the other thing I want to point out, with how we created our character, straight off the bat, I can hold 67 troops, which is insane. I don't recommend maxing out your party to begin with. What's going to end up happening is you're going to kind of hit that land of diminishing return where you're technically winning because you have a large party and they're relatively seasoned. But you're going to hit this point where you can't find enough bandits to sustain you. And you're going to hit a wall where eventually you lose them all to finances, at least until you're a little better set money-wise. So now that we have a good group of men, I'm going to head over this way. Now the reason I'm heading out here is I don't usually do that, but I saw a band of looters. Now the other thing that I usually try and do straight off the bat is, so we've already been attacked by a group of bandits again, which is fantastic. This guy's got an axe, which means I'm going to try and avoid him hitting my shield as much as possible, because his axe will tear through it. It's a forest bandit as well, which isn't great. It means that they're going to have some archers nearby, which is why I have my shield up at all times. Here we go. Gonna peek around the corner a little bit. The good news for already encountering bandits, rather, is that I will get a little bit extra experience, a little bit extra money. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna come around the corner. We're gonna stab him. We're gonna block. Oh, he hit me. Block, he broke the shield. So we're gonna just slash. Gonna stab him. Oh, come on. All right, so we're gonna block and then we're gonna kill him. That is what it is. And there was only 2 of them. So we got some more experience, some more money. Not great. If you want to avoid running into bandits like that, don't try and visit the marketplace at night. It's the easiest way to go about doing that. Or the tavern. But I did want to try and find one of these guys. So if I remember right, yes, this guy is the engineer. I really like having him. 300 dinars is a bit steep right now, but I do think that we can afford it. Now, the reason that I like Artemer is it's a long-term goal with him, honestly. So if we take a look at his skills, he's okay at fighting. He's kind of about the same line as us. He can hold his ranks, but he has really high intellect, which can be used for pathfinding. He also starts off with 4 in engineering, so that's really good whenever you actually start to own anything and you need to upgrade it, or if you want to assault a castle. So if you level him up with you in your party, you can rather rapidly get to the point where you can upgrade stuff, and he'll have a really high intellect for pathfinding as well as for his engineering skill, which is super useful. Now, one thing to note, whenever you're running around the world with your army, it's good to stop in at these villages. Now, I'm not looking to recruit anybody, I'm looking for this right here. So you'll notice that this grain only costs 3 dinar. 3 dinar is incredibly cheap. Now, Dirham, which is only, we'd say like a mile, 2 miles from that village, is a big city, therefore it doesn't produce its own grain. If I wanted to, I could sell this for 19 dinar right there. So 16 dinar a pop just by traveling a few feet. Like, you know, just super short distance, right? But I'm actually not gonna sell it. So there's 2 reasons for that. One, I have a fairly sizable army to begin with. No one's really gonna wanna mess with me, which means that the bandits that I'm hunting are, instead of coming to me and allowing me to kind of defend myself against them, I'm going to have to actively seek them, which puts me in a bit of a pickle when it comes to initially getting money. Especially since my traveling speed is only 4.9, I'm really going to have a hard time finding people to fight, which means I'm going to need more food to keep people in my party, but I'm also going to eventually run out of money. So what I'm doing is a little trick, and I do recommend starting with grain since it's so cheap. This is 19, which is actually still really cheap, but considering I can get it for 3, it's probably better to do so. So now we've traveled quite a ways, and all of a sudden this grain that I got for 3 dinar is now worth 47. So I'm gonna sell a couple bags of those. I usually keep at least 2 and 1 other source of food in there somewhere for that. So now I've made 138 dinar, which is great. That's, you know, 2 weeks worth of pay for my people, just by stopping by villages along the way and picking up grain. It gets pretty crazy. I actually make most of my money when I first start off just doing that. See, here's one for 6, and you can do it for anything. Villages will sell just about anything that you can get from a goods dealer. And sometimes they sell it for incredibly cheap, like 3 dinar for a bag of grain. Or I think one of my favorite was I got spice for like 150 or something like that, and then I sold it for 1,000. You can do the same thing with dyes. Like there is all kinds of deals that you can get from these villages. So one of the easiest ways to sustain yourself is by, as you're running around searching for bandits, stopping at the villages and ensuring that you are picking up what deals you can get. It's also important to note that because food can be so cheap at a village, before buying it in town, you should always check out the villages for a good deal on food. We'll go into this in more detail, of course, in my trading video that we'll go ahead and do. And I'll go into more detail about running trade caravans and stuff like that at that point. So for now, we have now made it over here to the land of the Rhodoks. That's what this area is. This is kind of my meat and potatoes when it comes to building up my army. I've made a little bit of money on the way over here. I've got a good sized army that I can build up to be rather strong. They're made up of units that I know for a fact become some of the strongest in the game. And so all I have to do at this point is find people to fight. Now the reason I do it up here in the land of the Rhodoks is because they have Mountain Bandits. I went over this a little bit in episode 1 of this series. Mountain Bandits have some very good things about them. Namely, they use thrown weapons primarily, which means that they'll run out of ammo really quickly. They're also rather slow, so when I am at a traveling speed as low as this, which is pathetic, frankly, but it's what it is. When I am at a traveling speed as low as this, it is hard to catch people. Luckily, Mountain Bandits are quite slow. So we've now got a battle against Mountain Bandits. Let me kind of show you guys how I generally roll with this. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any archers yet, which makes it rather difficult for us to win this without any casualties. But what I'll do is I generally take the top of the hill, top of the nearest hill, longest or biggest thing is I don't want to be down in a hole. Because they do have ranged weapons, it's probably better to go ahead and not allow them to just destroy me. Now, because we outnumber them so greatly, and this kind of goes against popular belief with this, I want my people to stand as closely as possible. Now, luckily, most of my guys have shields, so when they throw their weapons into them, they're not really going to be getting any kills. But when they get too close to them, they will have to fight multiples of them. And that's my biggest point with this, is whenever possible, especially if you have people who are weaker than the enemy, make sure that you aren't outnumbered. And whenever possible, outnumber them instead. Now, again, I can't hit anything today with my crossbow, which sucks. Hopefully, you'll have killed a couple of them, like I just killed that guy, before you get to this stage. Now, once they get close, like I said, they have throwing weapons. It's quite dangerous. But first thing you want to do is probably try and take out their archers. As you attack them, some of them will chase you. Now, preferably you do that before they're right up against you, because now I've got some of them up there harassing my guys, and that's not what we wanted. But you'll notice that a good majority of them are kind of down here near me. Now, if I had archers, this would be great, because my archers would just be nailing them with arrows right now. But since I don't, I'm kind of dealing with just carting them around. Now, the biggest point with this is to not let this happen. If this happens, you're probably going to die. So make sure you get your shield up, get away from them as quick as possible. If you have to, run the cheesy crossbow game where you go ahead and do this. Now, sadly, this guy has a big shield. So he's probably going to get the kill in on me, but there we go, killed that one. Now we've whittled them down low enough that I could probably send in my men relatively safely. But generally what I do is I get them down at least a little bit more, make sure that they're not facing my guys, and then I'll send them in. Now, this can go a lot better than it did this time. Honestly, we did quite poorly this time. But you can't always win every battle. You will eventually have an off day, or an off chance. Now luckily, most of my men are Nords, which means that they start off with pretty decent equipment. Their axes are fairly strong. You know, their armor is not half bad. And they're relatively hard to kill. Primarily they have a lot of health. So even when they do get in battles, not much that's going to go wrong there. So we just took out 15 Mountain Bandits. We lost no men. Gained 3 renown, a little bit of party morale, which is great. And then we got these things. So this shield is actually really good, primarily due to its durability, shown at that 574 out of 574. This one, which actually has a higher resistance, only has 169. So I'm actually going to be stealing this fur covered shield, preferably not a battered one or anything like that when you pick these up. But I'm going to go ahead and steal it because, yes, very good. It's also quite quick for how big it is. A size of 162 is quite outrageous. Makes it really hard to hit you. Now, something that you could note is these guys have these flanged maces. If you wanted to run parties with the prisoners, if you kill them with this, they're going to get knocked out instead of killed, which makes it much easier in the long run to, getting prisoners. Now for this, I'm going to take the crude skull cap because it has 19 head armor. A cracked one is worse because it's cracked, obviously. Crude is just poorly made. But as you can see, the value on these things is actually pretty good. Now when we go to sell them, obviously we're not going to get that much. But we did get 102 dinars just from that alone. Now what I'll usually do is, for one, this guy is not going to be infantry. He's going to go into a special group 4. And this is my group 4 followers. Followers don't like it when they die. Believe it or not, most people don't like getting knocked out. So something to avoid is having your followers get knocked out. I usually have my followers stand behind everybody else. But we've now finished one battle against these guys. There are many of them in the area, so you can just run around doing your thing. If you can get one of these crossbows, this is the one you want. You want a light crossbow because it can be used on your horse, but it does a ton of damage, as you can see. And this one in particular is a masterwork one, so it does almost 50 piercing damage in a hit. That plus some steel crossbow bolts and you're good to go. This one does 37. To put that in perspective, this war bow, which is one of the better bows in the game, only does 25. Now, the reason you don't want like a siege one, which as you can see does way more damage, is that little indicator down below cannot be used on horseback. So if you're going to use one of these, you have to be on foot. It's kind of dangerous, and that's why I avoid it personally speaking. Huskar shields are another good one if you want a shield to use. But anyhow, so now we're in here. This one is 28, 28, 24, blah, blah. As you go through and sell these things, you'll notice you start racking up the money pretty quickly. And especially with how cheap our units are right now, it's going to be relatively easy to get a decent amount of money straight off the bat. Now what you can do, and what I do recommend doing straight off the bat, is upgrading these guys as much as possible. The Vagars are going to go down the skirmisher route, and then once they become skirmishers, you're going to upgrade them to archers. Now, alternatively, you could go straight Nord and footmen and huntsmen, because huntsmen have bows right off the bat. I generally don't because I want stronger archers in the long run, but as we upgrade them, we'll also get a little bit quicker because they are trained soldiers now. They're faster on their feet. And then as you build the pathfinding skill and whatnot, that'll go up as well. But that's generally what I do. So you'll notice like right here, there's another group of mountain bandits. They're actually faster than me, but they occasionally pause to do stuff. So you'll want to build up your speed as quickly as possible so that you can go ahead and catch these people. And for that exact purpose, I'm actually going to put another point into pathfinding. I generally do about 2, maybe 3 points into this tops myself, just so that if I lose my followers, my party's not incredibly slow. But, you know, sometimes you do what you gotta do. Then I'm gonna pop one into intellect. That gives me another point over here, which is great. I can't get level 3 trainer yet, which stinks. Next level I will be able to though. Generally trainer I want at least level 4 or 5. You know, sometimes you can't quite get there, but you do what you can. So for this, I will probably go ahead and put this into Iron Flesh at this point. I like having at least about 54 health myself, just so that I'm a little less squishy. But with that 1 point, I now went to 3.1 on this, and I screwed up getting them. But we'll go ahead and kill these guys one last time. Now, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pop these guys right here. So infantry is gonna hold this position, and I'm gonna sweep back around and have archers hold this position, and have followers hold this position. Now, once again, I don't have archers yet, but that is generally how I get my guys going. So infantry, formation, stand closer, stand closer, stand closer. Now, because my guys are still pretty new, and we're in a worse position than we were last time, I'm gonna ride forward a bit, figure out where these guys are coming from, and try and take them out from a distance. And fire! So, something that I generally do straight off, again, is get these guys' attention. The more of them that are on me, the less of them will be killing my men, the less that I have to worry about recruiting new people. Shields up at all times whenever running around these guys, especially at this low level. These spears that they're throwing at you could do a pretty decent amount of damage. And then these guys do occasionally have archers on them. Whenever possible, either get them into the melee or kill them, of course. So now we're running around. The couple of them that escape your grasp will be pretty easily dealt with by your men. When they're standing that close together and whatnot, it's pretty easy for them to outnumber and destroy these guys. So I went ahead and sliced him in the face, killed him. I'm gonna run up to this guy and stab him. Oh, missed. As you play, you'll of course get better at combat. You know, maybe never be good like me, but you'll get better. So now we've killed them. You'll notice that I have hit level 4, which, as we discussed just a second ago, does mean that I can go ahead and get trainer to level 3 now. That's very important, because if you do happen to lose your army, because you will, or maybe you just aren't getting into battles, whatever it is, you will eventually need them to passively level up, and that's what trainer does for you. So whenever I get a new party, or yeah, so that's the same. But yeah, whenever you get a new party going, or how's about this one? You finally own a castle, so you dump your entire good army into guarding the castle or the town or whatever it is. And so now you have no one to actually do that for you, and you're kind of SOL on that. Yeah, that'll be a thing one day. So I'm probably gonna keep that one for him. So what I'm thinking about now is my follower. Now, I don't want my followers to be awful all the time. So what you can do is keep some of your equipment, go to your follower, talk with him, ask to see his equipment, and all of a sudden you get one of these. Now, hopefully he has power draw 1. He doesn't, but worst case scenario, I can at least give him some better body armor. I can give him a shield to work with. Generally speaking, I make my followers archers, just because my archers stand behind the line. They're less likely to get killed. Now the other thing is their outfits are generally worth a pretty penny, so it doesn't hurt to sell them. But anyhow, we've now gotten a decent amount of money, of course. There will be tournaments and stuff here. I don't feel like I need to run back and forth 80 times to show you guys that this kind of works, right? You build up a decent enough team, you slowly but surely level them up. These Vagrant footmen will become skirmishers who can throw stuff just like the mountain guys. You can always put a couple of your Nord recruits to huntsmen to start with, just so that you have some archers. But what you do is you basically get your archers behind your infantry. They'll kill a couple of them before they can get to you, really. And then at the end of the day, you just kind of keep killing them. Eventually you'll get to the point where you can, do a ton of damage, and you're just killing group after group after group. And once your guys get to a certain level and you have enough of them, probably about 40, 45 of them that are at least tier 2, preferably tier 3 units, you can go from doing that over here in the safe land to coming up to the coast and hunting sea raiders. And sea raiders, stronger unit, better equipment, more money. You do that until you get to the point where you have enough renown to either become a vassal or become a mercenary. And we'll talk more about that again when it comes to troops and progression. I think that this video has already been way longer than it should. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial on how to build your starting army, because that's kind of what this is. You grab some units, you get a decent number of them, you hunt mountain bandits. The money from the mountain bandits should sustain your army and allow you to build some profit. And as you go, you get a stronger army, then you move up north and you start hunting sea raiders. But again, hope you all enjoyed. I will see you in the next video.